Hi CDPEs, and welcome to our new friends who are joining us from around the country who are tuning in to today's live industry broadcast, coming to you from Sharfin Studios located in beautiful Austin, Texas. Now we have a RealtyTrac executive with us here today, which means that we're all going to gain some valuable insight on current market trends, and we're going to discuss how you can utilize the upcoming short sale wave to grow profits for your business. And this is going to affect your distressed property market. So we look forward to getting to your questions and answering as many of them as we can live on the call today. And let's start the show. For that, let's go now to the author of the CDPE designation and CEO of the Sharfin Institute, Alex Sharfin.
Welcome, and thanks for joining us, and thanks, Matt, for that great introduction. We are very excited today to be here with Charlie Engel in our studios from RealtyTrac. We're going to be sharing with you some fantastic information, and really, when you want information on the housing market nationwide, RealtyTrac is the go-to source for hundreds of periodicals, the federal government, most of the lenders. Really, RealtyTrac has the best information in the market today about what's going on. And it's not what's reported that's going on, it's what's actually going on. RealtyTrac goes out and collects information from around the country, and we're going to share that information with you today. If you've joined us on one of these broadcasts before, you know that you should probably have some maybe writing utensils, some paper out in front of you. The information we're going to share is tremendous. We're recording all of this, and we will make sure that you get a link. So watch for an email from us so that you can review all of the information in this broadcast. And I promise there will be information that you will want to share with both buyers and sellers, people who are distressed and not distressed, because this data on the market is actionable intelligence you can use right now. Before we get started, really quick, let's just do some housekeeping. I want you to make sure to send your questions to questions@cdpenow.com, questions@cdpenow.com. And during this broadcast, any questions that come in, Matt will be filtering them for us, and at the end of the broadcast, we'll get to your questions live with Charlie here in studio. Also, real quickly, we just want to make you aware, we know we have hundreds, if not thousands, of CDPs on this broadcast, and whether you're a member of our organization or not, coming up July 15th to 18th in Las Vegas, Nevada, we have our Breakthrough Conference. Chris Bird, Grant Cardone, top-selling sales expert and best-selling author, Steve Harney, the founder of Keeping Current Matters, Susie Humphreys, the author of When All Else Fails, Laugh, will all be speaking, including Margaret Kelly, the CEO of RE/MAX, Alex Perillo, the president and CEO of Realogy, Rory Baden, the co-founder of Southwestern Consulting, Mark Willis, the CEO of Keller Williams. There's an amazing lineup at our Breakthrough Conference, July 15th to the 18th in Las Vegas. We also will have representatives from Bank of America, Citigroup, Wells Fargo, and Chase, and we just confirmed that at least Bank of America will be actually bringing negotiators to our conference to meet with you. And in addition to that, we have over 45 Star Power Stars, top producing agents in the real estate market today that will be at our conference. We look forward to seeing you there. Now, watch for an email from me in your inbox on Monday so that you can get more information on our Breakthrough Conference. Now, let's get started with our broadcast. Charlie, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure to have RealtyTrac here in our studios in Austin. And I think we have some tremendous information here to share with people. But before we get started, this is our first broadcast with you. So why don't you just let our audience know exactly who you are, what you do for RealtyTrac, and what your background is.
Sure. So I'm a vice president for RealtyTrac. My background, I've been in the business about 8 years. Anything at RealtyTrac involving products for agents, brokers, and really trying to figure out what agents and brokers might want to buy to help grow their business over the next 6 months to a year or two is really where I get involved.
And Charlie, just why is it that RealtyTrac, just so that the people who aren't familiar with the company, or maybe they've heard of it, or they've seen your advertising, but they don't know that much about RealtyTrac, why is it that so many different organizations rely on you? At last count, I mean, it really is the Department of Justice, the major lenders, the major brokerages, they all turn to RealtyTrac, and if there is a periodical that doesn't quote you, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, last year we got picked up in the news. Our data was cited tens of thousands of times. We do dozens, if not hundreds, of interviews every month for the press. So many organizations out there, dozens of government agencies use our data. We go out, we collect our own data from thousands of counties across the country. We update it on a very regular basis. So we really do as much as we can to make sure the information we put out there on our website is the most accurate data available.
And there's something special about this information, right? The way we've aggregated it, the way that we have it here, this is the first time that RealtyTrac is sharing this publicly, right?
Correct. Most of this data, this is the first time it's being shown.
So if you're watching and you're out there and one of the agents is watching, just so that they understand, this is not only, it's data that hasn't been out there before. We put it together specifically so that agents can use this to be actionable immediately. And it's an exclusive. It's here the first time. This is the national first time anybody's seen it.
Exactly, and we're going to go through in detail so everybody understands exactly what data points we're showing here.
Fantastic. Well, let's get started. First, let's look at this first slide, and I think this slide is so telling because this is U.S. Pre-foreclosure sales activity, and we go all the way back to Q1 of 2005 when it was barely doing anything. And really, when we look at U.S. pre-foreclosure sales activity, the short sales in the United States, it's telling, isn't it? Give us a little information on this graph.
Yeah, so obviously short sales have increased significantly over the last several years. We saw a huge spike here, over the last couple of years. Right when we had a new administration in the White House, we did see a drop in the number of short sales. There was a kind of a shift in strategy in terms of let's go ahead and let's work with the actual owners of that home
and let them keep the home.
Exactly, because that's better for a lot of the parties involved. So what we've seen here really recently is either a leveling and most recently an uptick in the number of pre-foreclosure sales we're seeing. We actually saw about 35,000 pre-foreclosure sales in January. We're on pace to actually top 100,000 in Q1. So we are starting to see an uptick in pre-foreclosure sales again.
And if we look at if we look at historically, if we do see 100,000 in Q1, that's going to be one of the biggest quarters on record, right?
Exactly. So yeah, definitely things are trending back upwards in terms of pre-foreclosure sales.
So let's take a look at this next graph here. So this is the states with the biggest percentage increases. And I think that there's some surprises here. In fact, when people think distressed property, they don't think Wisconsin, they don't think South Carolina or Utah or Massachusetts even.
Right.
And definitely Michigan and California and Georgia have made the list for a long time, but there's some notable absences too here. Arizona's all the way down at the bottom. And Nevada's all the way down at the bottom. And so what we're seeing is this is a whole new market, a whole new area of the country where the percentage increases are tremendous. Georgia showing a 113% increase. And then nationally, the numbers are really only 16% over in January of 2011 was 16.34%. January 2012 was 23.9%. So short sales really for the first time are outnumbering foreclosures, right?
Yeah, in a lot of states, the lenders are finally realizing that it's a better option for most parties involved to actually go through that short sale versus letting the home go all the way through the foreclosure process and end up as yet another bank-owned property.
Yeah, and I think what's telling, Charlie, is you and I have discussed this before, that we would hit the month where it wouldn't be just Southern California or just Arizona or just Florida where short sales would outpace foreclosures, and we have officially hit that month. It was January of this year, right?
Yeah, I do believe so. Yeah, we actually had in 12 states we saw short sales actually outpace or outnumber the number of actual bank-owned sales. So we're seeing huge increases here. If you look at the chart, you've got Georgia well over 100% increase, Michigan, Wisconsin, South Carolina. Again, places where you wouldn't normally see a huge increase in activity, you're seeing those changes now.
And so this is very interesting. So what you just spoke to, where we have states where the number of pre-foreclosure sales, and again, read that as short sales for those of you watching. California, short sales outnumber foreclosures. Florida, same thing. Arizona, the same thing. So we have a huge delta in California.
Huge, yeah.
And that is probably, the funny thing is, and again, this is like everything else in this whole crisis that we're going through. California, Nevada, Florida, all got hit first.
Right.
And really, Florida got hit first. So you see there now, short sales are outpacing in those markets. And we really do expect the rest of the markets to catch up, right?
Absolutely. And it's the usual cast of characters we've all heard about in the news. California, Nevada, Florida, Arizona definitely leading the pack. Now what we're seeing is what's happening in those states is spreading really across the country. And even in states where we don't see pre-foreclosure sales outnumbering REOs, we're at least seeing that gap narrow significantly.
Sure. It's getting a lot tighter.
Exactly.
And there was a period in time where short sales were nothing compared to foreclosures. In fact, in many of these states, especially the states we just mentioned, like Colorado or like Illinois, or especially like the slide before, when you look at Utah or South Carolina, short sales were non-existent only a couple years ago.
Huge increases that we've seen recently. And again, the lenders are finally realizing that it's better for most or all parties involved to be able to sell that home during a short sale and not let it work all the way through that foreclosure process.
It's really not just the lenders, right? We look, and the lenders are realizing it. We've had a tremendous amount of government support of the short sale process, investor support of the short sale process. So it is moving in the right direction. And again, for the agents out there who say you can't get a short sale closed, it's impossible, it just never happens. The reality is numbers don't lie.
Yeah, it happens. And there is nothing short about a short sale, as I like to say. We'll show some numbers here in a minute showing the time frame to complete a short sale. But if you can survive that process and make it happen, it's going to be a better outcome for
Let's
everybody.
take a look at those numbers now. So when we look at the average pre-foreclosure sale, or this is actually pricing, not timing, but when we look at the average pre-foreclosure sales price and the average discount percent below non-distress, there's some interesting telling statistics here. Why don't you go ahead and explain this slide?
Yeah, so over the last couple of years, we've seen a pretty consistent and dramatic drop in the average pre-foreclosure sales price. Currently, at the end of last year, the pre-foreclosure average sales price was about $184,000 nationwide. That's down significantly over the last couple of years. And then, recently we're looking between a 20 and a 25% discount for a short sale in a given market versus a non-distressed sale. That number's bounced around a little bit. It has increased over the last couple of years, but generally you're looking at a 20 to 25% discount short sale versus a non-distressed sale.
So overall, what an agent should understand, especially if they're working with a buyer, is that the average discount on a short sale, 20 to 25%.
On average, and you're going to see a lot of differences in micro markets, but on average across the U.S., which is the data we have, yeah, you're looking at a pretty substantial discount.
I think one of the most interesting statistics, you couple that value statistic you just talked about with the home gain survey of home buyers, and the highest level of satisfaction is in purchasing a short sale. So homeowners remember the result, they don't remember the process. And again, this all confirms just the other statistics that are out there. Let's take a look at the next one. This is the biggest short sale discounts. So these are the states where the average pre-foreclosure discount is really tremendous. Massachusetts, which, I mean, most people in the country don't even think that is a short sale market, a 40% discount. Give us some information here.
Yeah, so a lot of the states that are on here are states that we haven't heard a lot regarding foreclosures and short sales, and really there are huge discounts in a good number of states. Over 40% of Massachusetts, 35% Missouri, California, 30%. There are some states that are missing on here that have been in a lot of conversations about foreclosures. Nevada, Florida, other states like that. In those states, for the most part, sellers of non-distressed properties are factoring in the impact that foreclosures are having when they price their home. So you're not looking at such a huge decrease, such a huge difference between the foreclosure and the non-distressed sale.
So in a state like Massachusetts, a short sale is such an anomaly that they're really taking a hit on it.
Right, it just hasn't been a big part of the market, and people are pricing homes, and there is just a huge difference between the non-distressed and the distressed sales.
But if we couple that with the earlier slide that we saw, where that is one of the states with the largest increase, interesting things are going to happen there, and we'll see that cram down of pricing across the country as well, right?
Absolutely, we're definitely seeing home sellers take into account those distressed sales when they're beginning to put their home on the market and find that initial list price.
So we get to the next slide, and I think this is a slide that everybody tunes in for, and this is the information everybody wants to know, is how long is it taking for a short sale to actually close? It's, the perception is that it's absolutely forever, you can never get it done. This is an interesting slide, so let's talk about this one. So short sales are actually taking longer, right?
Yes.
And bank-owned sales are kind of leveling out. Give us some insight here. Why is this?
Yeah, so with pre-foreclosure sales, you're looking at the time to actually sell that property up significantly over the last couple of years, 113 days to about 306. The thing to really pay attention to here is that recently, the last, looks like 2 or 3 quarters here, the pre-foreclosure days to sale is actually dropping slightly. So again, banks realizing that and lenders realizing, wow, if we make this process easier for the buyer to be able to take this distressed property off our hands, again, better for everybody. So banks are beginning to come around a little bit and be able to realize, let's make this process a little bit easier. Let's do what we can to speed this up. Because again, that's been one of the big complaints out there, is their short sales take so long, they're so complicated to do. That's really what's been holding back.
And recently, we really are seeing those numbers come down.
We absolutely are.
You know what's telling on this slide? If we can go back to the slide for a second, what's telling here though is people say, if it's taking a short sale 306 days and a pre-foreclosure sale, a bank-owned sale is only 178, why would banks ever want to do a short sale? But what you have to do to really get to actual time of sale from distress is add the time of foreclosure.
Right.
So you take 178 and you add 600 days in New York, and you're looking at 2.5 years.
Actually, nationwide, it's 370 days to go through the foreclosure process from the filing of that initial notice of default through the home becoming bank-owned. In states like New York, you're looking at over 1,000 days to foreclose.
Sure.
There. New Jersey, same situation. Florida, several hundred days to foreclose. So you have to take this 178 days here to sell a bank-owned home and add that on to the timeline it takes to go through the foreclosure process in that state. So you're looking at a long, long time for a home to proceed through foreclosure and for the bank to finally sell it.
So actually, compared to the average you just gave, it would average out to about 540 days nationwide. So 306 actually looks like a great time frame.
Not that bad.
Yeah, not that bad. Relatively. So, the agents who have those short sales listed don't think it's that bad, or think it's really bad. But it's getting better, and it's getting better recently.
Right.
So let's take a look at the next one. And this is, again, one of those reasons people tune into this broadcast every time we have you in town. U.S. foreclosure starts. What is coming? What's next? Everybody wants the crystal ball. What do you see?
So let's take a look at the chart first. We can see the U.S. foreclosure starts have dropped off over the last, we'll call it about the last year and a half, 2 years. We did have the whole robo-signing issue here that really came to light at the end of 2010. That put additional pressure in terms of foreclosure starts. Really what we want to look at are the last couple of columns here on the right side. We are starting to see foreclosure starts tick up again for a couple of reasons, one of them being the settlement and the robo-signing issue.
Sure.
Again, banks also realizing that there is a little bit of clarity now in terms of their liability and pushing homes into foreclosure. So we think we're going to see that continuing up over the next several months, more and more homes going into foreclosure as banks are becoming more efficient in that foreclosure and short sale process.
And then something else that's contributed to that is there's a lot of trial loan modifications.
Right.
There's a lot of HAMP modifications that are falling out.
Yep.
And so really just recently, again, we're seeing the fallout. We're seeing more homes push into foreclosure. And these are starts, not actual foreclosures.
Correct.
But so this is a kind of an indication that in the next few months, we will see actual foreclosure numbers increase.
Correct. This is just kind of the very leading edge of we're beginning to see activity tick back up again after the better part of 2 years of it sliding downward. And over the next couple of months, that'll really be telling to see what these numbers look like.
So what's interesting, Charlie, is over and over again, I have agents across the country tell me, and they've been saying this since 2009, so let's not be surprised. But agents across the country say, well, the short sale mess is finally almost over. We're on the other side. It's a downhill slope from here. I don't really need to get involved. I think the next slide speaks to that.
Absolutely.
When we look at today, how many delinquent mortgages there are, 90-day plus 1.4 million, 30-day plus 1.47 million, and 60-day delinquencies are about 500,000. So altogether, we're still looking at well over 3 million right now delinquent mortgages, right?
Right, and just to set the stage, these are in addition to the homes that are currently in foreclosure.
In the foreclosure process, right?
So in our database, we have the better part of 1.3, 1.4 million homes that are already in that foreclosure process.
So it's over 5 million total homes right now somewhere in that process.
That are in trouble. So yeah, you take the 1.5 million homes in the foreclosure process, you add into that the mortgages that are delinquent, again, you're looking at some really big numbers. And what's interesting about this is you've got, call it 1.4 million mortgages that are 30 days behind. Those are salvageable. The lenders are becoming more willing to work with those homeowners if they're a little bit behind, they have a little bit of a hardship. Some number of them are going to slide into 60 days delinquent. That's still workable. What's really telling here is the 1.4 plus million loans that are 90 plus days delinquent. A really good portion of those are significantly beyond 90 days. So you have got a good portion of those that are 150, 200 plus days. The chances of those going into the foreclosure bucket are very, very significant.
Yeah, they're very high.
Right.
80, 90% at that.
I would agree with that.
So let's take a look at the pool of potential short sales. So it doesn't end here, and this is something we've impressed on agents over and over again through the last 5 years, is that you can't look at just delinquencies and foreclosures.
Correct.
You have to look at some other numbers, and I think this next graph really does that. So when we look at the people who are potentially in trouble, and if we can get the slide up, what we see is that 12.5 million are 25% more underwater. So on $100,000 homes, they owe at least $125,000. Right. 1 to 10% underwater is 3.8 million. 11 to 25% underwater is 4.5 million. Charlie, you add these numbers together, you got 12, 4 makes 16, then you up to 17, 18, 19. It's over 20 million homeowners that owe more on their home today than what it's worth. Now, not all of those will be foreclosures. Because a lot of people own a home, they owe more than it's worth, it's less than paying rent, they're still in a good position, right?
Absolutely.
The challenge that we have, though, is a significant number of these probably will end up having challenges, and anybody who has any type of an issue where they do have to sell, not want to sell, but need to sell, they're going to be a short sale or a foreclosure.
Absolutely. And I really wouldn't worry too much about the people that are slightly underwater, 1 to 10% or even a little more. But when you get homeowners that realize, wow, I'm now 25% or significantly more underwater, the conversations around the dinner table in those homes every evening is, wow, it may be decades before our home is finally worth more than we actually owe on it, and then people start having to make the decision. Do we do what's called a strategic default? Do we look at potentially not paying our mortgage because we're so far underwater, and just see how long it takes before the bank comes in and moves them into foreclosure?
And the challenge is if we have a hiccup in income, if we have a challenge with medical bills, if we have any type of issue with employment, and we have to sell, there's really nowhere to turn but a short sale.
Absolutely, and really the people that are so far underwater on their homes, like you said, they are one financial hardship away from becoming delinquent, and as they move through the delinquent category, then a good number of them proceed into foreclosure.
So I want to go back to the slide for just a moment and show everybody. At the bottom there, you see we have a full short sale report at RealtyTrac.com/wave, and I want everybody to be aware of something. So. If you're watching this broadcast and you have the opportunity to download this at RealtyTrac.com/wave, the members of the media today are waiting on this report. You're going to be getting it along with the national media. This is an exclusive report that is just going out today from RealtyTrac, and it has a lot of the statistics that we're talking about today, but what's even more important is you can sit down with a homeowner, you can hand this to them, you're going to have it way in advance of any of your colleagues if you're watching this broadcast, and it has a lot of the same information we're discussing, but in a presentable format. This is a fantastic report, Charlie. Somebody can walk in right now, hand this to somebody, and really appear to be the expert.
Absolutely, and we even break some of the discount information down by state as well as by metro area.
So local information, national information, anybody who wants this, no charge, RealtyTrac.com/wave.
Absolutely.
So let's take a look at the top lenders in January short sales, and I think this isn't going to be a surprise to anybody, but before I reveal the slide and we look at who is doing the most in the short sale market, I want to point out, it's so funny when you look at these numbers, because the number one lender is also the lender that we probably hear the most challenges with. Absolutely. And I think it's just because they're the biggest in the market. They really are doing everything they can to get short sales closed. Let's take a look at who they are. The number one lender, drum roll, is Bank of America.
No big surprise there.
No big surprise to us, right? But surprise to agents because they really think Bank of America is doing nothing. Then we look at Chase, and Chase is number two. Close third is Wells Fargo. Then the Mortgage Electronic Registration Services, really on behalf of a lot of different investors. Yep. And then Bank of New York Mellon, U.S. Bank Corp, Citigroup. It's kind of a surprise to a lot of people how far down the line Citi is there. But really, we look at it, the top three, no surprise, Bank of America, Chase, and Wells Fargo. Right. All three have a ton of programs in place right now. They've improved their processes, and all three in different parts of the country are paying incentives to homeowners, right?
Absolutely. And really what I find interesting here is that Bank of America is, really has done just about as many short sales as the next two and number three combined.
Sure.
So, but you combine those top three, you're looking at the vast majority of short sales right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So if an agent really wanted to understand, where is most of the business going, it's B of A, Chase, and Wells Fargo. But interestingly enough, if you add Wells Fargo on top of Chase, it about is equivalent to B of A.
Just about.
Bank of America, and we just had a broadcast earlier this week on Bank of America. They really are doing everything they can to improve their processes, and the proof is in the numbers. They are closing the most short sales.
Absolutely.
Let's go to the next one. So the biggest increases in short sales, I think there'll be some surprises here. So again, even though Bank of America is mature in this market, they've been doing a ton of short sales, they rank number 5 as far as the largest increases in short sales. Then we have the Bank of New York Mellon, then we have Ally Financial, Freddie, Fannie, and the FHA, and then PNC Financial Group. Now that second one is interesting, right?
Exactly, and we're talking about biggest percentage increases in short sales. So again, the big guy here is Bank of America, still a 20% increase just with their sheer volume. That's really indicative.
Massive.
It's huge. It is enormous.
And then we look at it, and the interesting one to me is really Fannie and Freddie and the FHA. Yeah. So it's been challenging to work with Fannie and Freddie, and we've had a tremendous amount of questions and commentary and anecdotal information about just how tough it's been to work with them. But really, just in recent days, literally this morning, right, we saw some announcements. Fannie, Freddie, the FHA are doing everything they can to get into this market in a big way. The numbers have proven themselves, and short sales are the way they're going to get out of this.
And they are finally realizing that this is going to be here for a while. They had better become a lot easier to work with. And like you said, in very recent history, and a couple of more slides here will show, they are becoming noticed.
Sure. Yeah. Not only becoming noticed, like this morning they made major announcements.
Exactly.
It's in the Wall Street Journal, which again, when short sales hit mainstream media, you know it's going to move things.
Yep, exactly.
So let's take a look at the next one. It's the biggest drop in prices year over year. So which banks are doing the most negotiating? Which ones are really, really dropping their prices? So Bank of America actually On this chart, lowest drop in prices, but still made the top 5, then Chase, then PNC, then SunTrust. The last one, again, really interesting.
Exactly. They are really becoming serious about getting involved in this, and you can see it here with the biggest drop in average short sale price with the Fannie and Freddie.
So Fannie and Freddie, and we'll go back to the graph for just a moment so everybody can see it, 20% drop in pricing. So they are being the most aggressive right now as far as negotiating and getting out of properties. And I want everybody who's watching to really understand the interpretation of these numbers, because when you look at the fact that Fannie and Freddie are dropping their price the most, what does that mean? They want out of the property. Right. They want to move through the transactions as quickly as possible. They're not pushing back as much. And when we see a 20% discount, 15% discount, 10% discount, that really is indicative of the fact that let's get out of these properties. They found a better way. Short sales are a better financial argument.
Right. They have finally realized exactly what's happening out there with short sales. Again, the benefit for most parties involved. Keep in mind, again, Fannie, Freddie, we're not talking about enormous numbers here when you compare to the rest of the lenders here, but you can see they are very serious about moving these properties.
Sure. So let's take a look at the average short sale price by lender. And again, this is interesting. It just gives us information as to where a property is priced. So the average short sale price for Fannie, Freddie, and the FHA, right around 130. Now this is interesting. All the way up to the highest average price is Bank of America. So they have their 5th in percentage increase. They're the #1 short sale completer right now, and highest average price. Give us some insight.
Again, I think a lot of it is just volume out there right now. You've got Bank of America that is so much bigger and has their hands around so much more than everybody else. Bank of America is likely going to be a little bit slower to move in terms of being able to react to what's
pricing
going on in local markets. And again, you look at the Fannie, Freddie, FHA, we've seen it now a couple times. They're very, very serious about moving these homes.
Sure. So, and it's again interesting that the numbers all correlate. You look at the relationship between them, and you see the top lenders are the ones that they're closing the most. They're still growing, and they really are moving towards short sales as a solution. When we look at the biggest decreases in time to sell, now I find this slide interesting as well. Biggest decrease in time to sell shows just how serious they're really getting. Fannie, Freddie, and the FHA.
Exactly, and again, this reinforces what we've been talking about for the past couple minutes here. They are incredibly serious. Ally also in there, very serious. Still, at Bank of America, you're still talking about a 5% decrease in time to sell.
Given their volume, that's huge.
Given their volume, that is enormous. And again, they are bigger than several of the other lenders combined.
Sure. So given their volume, a 5% decrease in time to sell, it shows that with their volume, with their average sales price being higher, which means they probably have an higher average sales price portfolio as well.
Likely.
They really are, again, moving towards doing as much business as possible. But the story really here on so many of these slides is the Fannie, Freddie, FHA.
And I think what's really interesting here, especially directionally, everybody's down, which is good. You're not seeing any lenders out there that are even or even have an increase
pushing
here. So
up, sure.
Everybody is realizing what's going on. Some are realizing it quicker than others and can react more rapidly, but the fact that everybody sees an annual decrease in time to sell short sales, I think, is very good.
And I think the interesting thing, the story here that everybody needs to hear is that we've had so much trouble with Fannie and Freddie. We've had so much trouble with the HUD pre-foreclosure sales program, the FHA, and we see them, they're now the least expensive properties, are given the biggest discounts, and they're the fastest decrease in time, the largest decrease in time to sell, so they're getting faster. That's a story. The reality is, they see what's going on.
And they are very serious about this, and they're going to be a big player in this market for the time being.
So let's take a quick break here. So while you're watching, send your questions to questions@cdpenow.com, questions@cdpenow.com. We have a ton more information. In fact, we're going right back into preparing to profit from the coming wave of foreclosures after this quick break. I'm Alex Sharfin, CEO of the Distressed Property Institute and author of the CDPE designation. My wife Katie and I launched the CDPE to share the techniques and tools we had perfected while working with hundreds of distressed homeowners. Thousands of real estate professionals have already earned their CDPE designation, making it the fastest growing independent designation in the history of real estate. Agents we've trained tell us they've decreased their short sale processing times by 50%. That's one of the reasons, on average, CDPs list 7 times as many properties and close 4 times as many as the typical realtor. Short sales are on the rise and will hit historic levels this year. Don't miss out on the best opportunity you have to start growing your business today. Register now and join the nationwide CDPE movement to solve America's foreclosure crisis, one homeowner at a time. These people will never forget you. You need to remember that you're growing a referral base, a database that will feed you for the rest of your career. I'll make the commitment to you if you don't realize this now. Every one of you have people in your database, in your sphere of influence. These are friends, family members, past clients, people in your community.
CDPE, distance learning. All the excitement of a live event from the comfort of your office.
Welcome back. So we now want to show you how to profit from this coming wave of foreclosures. And one of the challenges that agents nationwide have is they say, how do I take advantage of this? How do I work with people? And one of the questions that I get most often, and it's reassuring, is how do I find the people in my market that I can help? Just so everybody is clear, and I'm sure Charlie has recent statistics, but we know that today, 80% or more of the people who lose their homes to foreclosure are never listed. What does that mean? That means 8 out of 10 people who end up moving out of their homes, losing it to a bank sale, having the sheriff show up at the door, never have the opportunity to enact a short sale, never have the opportunity to sell their property. So Charlie, let's take a look at knowing the trends in your market and understanding the trends in your market. When we look at this, let's take a look at this first graph here. So this is, there it is. So when you know, this is some of the information that people can get from RealtyTrac, right?
Right, and a lot of the data we're showing here is aggregate, rolled up, nationwide data. What I recommend is, because all real estate is local, and you've got a lot of local microeconomies occurring, the real estate professional should go in, and we've got some great parts of our website, realtytrac.com/trend center. They can go in and they can really take a good look at what's going on locally, really down to the zip code level, what's happening in terms of foreclosures, foreclosure starts, and so forth in their local market. Get a good handle on what's happening right around them.
So if we take a look at this next one, and this is one of those tools that I think is so important for agents. And again, you can download this report. You can get more information on RealtyTrac by going to realtytrac.com/wave, W-A-V. I would suggest you do that immediately. And now this is just such a great graph. Now, you're going to use this to find motivated short sale leads, right?
Absolutely. And the reason why you use this map and the data on our site, it's fairly simple to find people who are behind on their payments and upside down on their mortgages.
The data's right there.
Right, and that is a foreclosure waiting to happen. So the sooner that a real estate professional can get in touch with that distressed homeowner, the better it's going to be for the homeowner. There's much more likely that agent's going to be able to list that property as well, or at least explain to them the options that are available to them, because the majority of people who enter the foreclosure process don't know they have multiple options available to them. And that is really surprising. There are so many government and lender options out there. They really need an educated person, an experienced person, to be able to walk that distressed homeowner through all of their options and really help make the best decision.
So Charlie, you mentioned one way to use this, to find motivated short sale leads. So I'll tell you how we used to use this. And I think that any agent watching, even if you're not listing and selling short sales, if you're never going to go out and prospect, if you're doing only retail business, heck, even if you're doing luxury business, you can use this map. You go in, you search for these properties. The fee for RealtyTrac, if somebody's a CDPE or they join through us, is nominal. It's about $20 a month. Exactly. And for $20 a month, you search for these properties. Before you go in to list a property, you have an equity seller. They own their home cash. They don't have they're not upside down in the mortgage. They don't have a hardship. Take this information in to show them just how many people around their area are going to be pending foreclosures, and show them, hey, we need to price this property right.
Right, and especially you mentioned before, a majority of the homes that are going through the foreclosure process don't have a for sale sign on the front yard.
So they don't know.
Exactly, so it quite often is going to happen if you're talking to a home seller and you can show them that maybe they didn't know, but their neighbor across the street, that home's in pre-foreclosure.
Yeah.
The guy down the road with the same floor plan in their house, that home's scheduled for auction.
It's coming.
120 days from now. Maybe we ought to price your home accordingly so we can sell before that home goes to auction.
Without question. I think this is that, we used to sit down with equity sellers and we would say, let me show you the hidden MLS.
Right.
Let me show you the hidden listings that are about to hit the market that you can't see. And when we would show this to homeowners in this type of data, it's an eye-opener, and suddenly pricing objections are gone.
Exactly, and if you're going to try and talk that home seller with an unrealistically high idea of what their home is worth, having the data, having the map, having the statistics behind it, and like you said, the hidden MLS, show them what homes are not on the market, this is really a good way to do it.
Absolutely. So let's take a look at this next graph. And again, this is targeting your outreach. We show them how to get into RealtyTrac, search by property type, loan to value ratio. Really, there's nowhere else you can get this kind of data. Give us an idea of how an agent can use this.
So really, it helps an agent work smarter, not harder. We find a lot of times a homeowner is less likely to want to talk to an agent representing buyers if that homeowner has an auction date scheduled for several months down the road.
Sure.
As that auction date approaches, all of a sudden, not surprising, that homeowner is much more willing to talk to potential buyers. It's very easy to go in and search for homes in terms of time frame to auction, loan to value, being able to go in and search by lender. I'm sure everybody watching this knows that certain lenders in their area are either more or less willing to approve short sales.
Sure.
It's going to vary by market, but you can go in and focus on a particular lender where they are more likely than others to approve a short sale. Save yourself a lot of headache.
Yeah, I think the other thing is when you sit down with somebody before you go out, and if you're going to door knock or if you're going to call somebody and you say, and you know that they have a loan, for example, with Wells Fargo or with Citi or with Bank of America, and you can say, I'm familiar with Wells Fargo's program. Let me tell you what they're doing in our area. Let me tell you who our local rep is. We can set up an appointment to have this person come in and talk to you, and you have that type of intelligence going into the call or the appointment. It really changes how they look at you.
It's going to put you in a much better position. You're going to come in as the authority to be able to really lay out all the options for them.
Let's take a look at this next chart here. So you can also get into some serious loan details. Let's take a look at this one. Can you give us an idea? And again, Charlie, it's funny. I don't think that the vast majority of agents are even aware that RealtyTrac has this information.
No.
It's one of the best secrets in the real estate industry. And if you're watching, understand that you may be the only person in your market using this data. That there's a lot of agents that just don't use it correctly. And to go and find out loan details, what a tremendous advantage over anybody else who's going to go in and sit down with someone.
Yeah, and if you're going to go sit down with a distressed homeowner, being able to know their situation before you sit across the kitchen table from them, or being able to prepare a package of options for them, you really need to know all the background information. How many loans do they have? Who are the loans with? What's the outstanding balance? Have they defaulted on one or all of their loans? Really, a great way to help save work is you probably want to find out if someone has multiple loans on a property, are they all with the same lender?
Sure.
Because if they're not, trying to get multiple lenders to agree on a short sale is like, it's like trying to herd cats.
Sure,
It's very
and
difficult.
it can be tougher. And you can also go in and there's incentive programs now from lenders. If they only have one loan, they're a lot easier. Right. Heck, you could target your entire area for people who are 25% over the value of their mortgage, who have missed payments, who only have one lender, and who, if I'm really have a great relationship with the local Wells Fargo rep, I can get that list.
Exactly. And what's really nice too is even if somebody has a couple of loans on a property, you can at least make sure that they're all with the same lender, because trying to get one lender to agree on multiple loans would be easier than different lenders.
Much
so
easier.
Again, save yourself some work and focus on those distressed homeowners where you're most likely to have a positive outcome.
Awesome. So Charlie and I are here to answer your questions. We're going to take questions again. If you'd like to send in a question, send it to questions@cdpenow.com. Questions@cdpenow.com. We're going to take a very quick break. Come back. Matt Elia is going to help us sift through the questions. We've already got hundreds of them. There are thousands of people on this broadcast. Thank you for joining us. Give us just a couple minutes. We're going to come back and answer your questions.
I really truly do feel and believe that we are in a partnership. If we think it's anything different than that, we're not going to be as good as we can possibly be as an industry going forward.
We absolutely value your efforts, your knowledge. We have to make sure we're partnering up with you.
We've seen agents that are educated, that understand how the short sale process works, they understand the market, are much more successful at closing short sales. So we're very supportive of these kind of designations and the support it does for our customers.
Alex, Distressed Prosperity Institute, I think, has done a very nice job of creating a framework for realtors to work on short sales and giving them the tools to do that.
We wouldn't have went out and hired 3,000 people. We wouldn't have implemented the Equator. We wouldn't have implemented streamlining and proactive short sale if we didn't believe this was a tool that would help us both succeed. Agents, the bank, communities, homeowners in distress, buyers who want a property.
You know, agents are really the boots on the ground. For many borrowers, you know, their real estate agent is the trusted advisor.
Right.
Certainly in matters of selling their home.
28% of all home purchases last year were distressed properties, and that's way above normal. But we need, as a country, we need that percentage to increase. We need the volume of those sales to accelerate, or we're never going to get out of this housing market conundrum.
Should we be focusing on getting more short sales done?
Absolutely. We need to move through the distressed inventory as quickly as we possibly can. Homeowners had a net worth 41% higher than renters. The reality is short sales are closing, and if there's a homeowner who's watching this that is in foreclosure and doesn't know what to do, they need to contact an agent that understands the process.
I think that's...
For 35,000 agents have made the choice to become a certified distressed property expert. Are you ready? Welcome back. So we have a ton of information for you, a ton of questions. In fact, Matt was just reading us some of the questions. There are some great ones and really some questions that show an insight to understanding the data that we presented today. Real quick, for those of you who are not CDPEs, if you've watched this broadcast, you're excited about joining our membership, becoming a certified distressed property expert, one of almost 40,000. In fact, we this morning graduated our 39,157th CDPE. We'd love to have you be 39,158. We have a promotion for you. It's 24 hours only. To earn the CDPE designation course, you can go live or online. Online, you can start right now. We have a complete marketing campaign to get you started, a short sale investor marketing kit, which is $350 value, our lead generation video you can put anywhere on your blog, on Active Rain, on your website. You can use it in emails. It's a total value of $1,549. For 24 hours, we're gonna do 68% off. Your total price is 5 payments of $99, or make 1 payment of $449 and get started immediately. To register for that product, give us a call at 1-800-482-0335, and we'll come back to this at the end of the broadcast. 1-800-482-0335. If you're excited about becoming a CDP, you might want to call right now. Our phone lines do get backed up, or go to cdpe.com and that same extension /wave. Let's go ahead and jump into some questions. Matt, what do you have for us?
Alex, we have a ton of questions coming in. The first one is from Donna Bigda. She's with Remax Alliance in Brantford, Connecticut. And Donna asks, I'm just curious, if we sign up for RealtyTrac, are we allowed to use the data and graphic information to post on our blogs and other websites?
Yes, definitely allowed to do that. Just go ahead and cite us as a source, but absolutely.
So Charlie, they wouldn't be the only ones citing RealtyTrac, right? When you look at periodicals in the market, they are using your data, they're using your graphs. As long as they just say data provided by RealtyTrac, they're good, right?
Exactly.
Fantastic. Matt, great.
So we have another question from Kate in San Jose, and Kate asks, with regards to logging into RealtyTrac.com, is there any way to know which homeowners are running 90 days late but not yet under the NOD, or notice of default?
So Charlie, is there a way to know that somebody's behind on payment? Not in RealtyTrac, right? In RealtyTrac, you're reporting what actually is in public record.
Exactly. So once the homeowner has entered default, once the bank has started that foreclosure process, that's when we pick up the public record. Prior to that, it's very difficult to get a really good handle on that. But again, once the actual foreclosure process has started, that's when we'll display every bit of data we can about that.
You know, Charlie, let's answer an objection before it comes up, and for anybody who's out there thinking about it. So one of the challenges that you know we hear sometimes with RealtyTrac information is, you know, hey, I looked it up, I did a search, and there was some wrong information in there. How is it that RealtyTrac is wrong? So, you know, when Katie and I were doing this full time, we used RealtyTrac as a source of information. It's funny, our relationship with RealtyTrac predates the CDPE. We were a client. And the way that we used it was we knew that there was going to be some bad information in there. We also knew that when we did a search in public records in Florida, there was bad information in there. It really is kind of the same thing, right?
It is, and public record data is interesting, to say the least.
Sure.
Very prone to accuracy, latency issues. A lot of states don't have the number of bedrooms or bathrooms in there. So once we get a piece of data, a home record, we have to go in and we have to clean it up using other data sources.
And verify it.
And verify it, because we want to make sure the data we have out there is the best and really the most accurate information available.
So for everybody to understand, in the past, I would say 36 months, probably 24 months, RealtyTrac has made incredible improvements in data reliability and data accuracy, right?
Definitely. Our data is about 100% better, more accurate than it was a year or two ago. A year or two from now, probably be another 100% more accurate than it is now. We're constantly striving to give the most accurate data we can.
As far as what we've seen, just so anybody watching understands, we have the opportunity to work with just about any data provider out there. And for us, when we verified nationally, RealtyTrac has the best database that we know of. And of course, there's errors, just like public record would have errors.
Absolutely, and we use, for the most part, our own data aggregators to go out, collect the data, generally at the county level, about 2,200 counties across the country. So we ingest that data, and we do go through a very elaborate, detailed cleanup process of that data.
Sounds great. Matt, what else do you have?
Guys, the next question comes from CDPE and CIAS member Patrick Bissett. Patrick says, I have a RealtyTrac account. Can I search for pre-foreclosures with Fannie and Freddie being the investor?
So there's an interesting thing about trying to search for the investor, right, Charlie? We can only see what's in public record, and what's in public record is the lender or servicer, right?
Generally, yes. So, in this case, it would be just the lender, most likely.
And so we really don't see that investor. That investor's a whole other set of data. But what Patrick might be able to do is, as long as he has the address, he can go check and see if it's a Fannie or Freddie loan, if he has the permission of the homeowner.
Correct. That's going to be the best option in this case.
Fantastic. Matt, what else do we have?
Next question comes from Carrie London with Keller Williams. Carrie asks, do you have any data indicating how much bank-owned shadow inventory is out there and when the banks intend to release them to the market?
So Charlie, I love this question because I get this all the time in the national media, this looming shadow inventory in the banks. And at one point I was on stage in Arizona, and an agent in the audience stood up and said that he knew and he was sure, and he had seen a YouTube video, which again is such a credible source.
It's online, has to be right. Yeah.
So he had seen a YouTube video that the banks were holding 6 million properties off the market, and they were going to dump them all at once, and it was going to crash the U.S. economy. The banks are just as vested in this as we are. They're trying to do everything they can to keep property values up. There is really no mass holding of properties off the market on purpose, is there?
Right. The banks are still suffering under just the crushing volume of foreclosures that are going through the system. We're still running 6 to 8 times normal in terms of foreclosure activity. The banks are doing everything they can, but to answer the question here, there are about 600 and some thousand bank-owned homes out there. The vast majority of those, about 2/3, 400,000 and change, are not yet listed for sale. So that number is down from what it was the end of last year. At points last year, we were pushing almost 1 million bank-owned homes out there. So, but there is a decent amount of those REOs that are not yet listed for sale.
At the end of the day, what we know and what we've seen, and there is no evidence to the contrary that really the reason those are being held off the market is it's either damaged or code violations, or they can't be sold, or there's a legal issue. But the banks aren't purposefully trying to hold property off the market, right?
It's really tough to see, right? Again, a lot of it is just the volume going through the system. The banks are dealing with as much as they can, but a lot of it is a matter of staffing and trying to just be able to process the massive amount of foreclosures that they're dealing with right now. They really haven't been set up for this.
Sure. Yeah. Foreclosure, short sale never was intended to be a retail product.
Exactly.
Matt, who else do we have?
The next question comes to us from the West Coast. It's out of Eureka, California. Dean Kessler, CDPE Advanced member, says, Alex, you are right on with the insight these graphs are revealing around the GSE's participation in short sales. In the past, my experience has been the servicer and the GSE are pointing fingers at each other as to why a short sale is languishing or declined. Are the GSEs dealing directly with us, or are we still working through the servicers? And he says he's excited to see us in Vegas for Breakthrough.
Sounds great, Patrick. We can't wait to see you. So, the reality here, there's really 2 questions there, right? The first one is, do we deal directly with the servicer? And today, with the investor, with Fannie or Freddie or the GSE. Today we don't. We go through the servicer. But The interesting thing is there is a movement towards direct connection with the agent. So when we see the Fannie Mae short sale help desk that some MLSs have installed, we've heard Freddie might have a similar program coming out. The pre-foreclosure sales program at HUD, we've heard of HUD counselors actually, or not HUD counselors, but HUD negotiators actually reaching out to agents. So there is some connection being made, but we start the process with the servicer, right, Charlie?
Yeah, we have to start somewhere. I think the situation and who you talk to is going to be a little different 90, 120 days down the road, but for the most part, we have to wait until some more programs get into place here.
And we deal directly with the servicer today. And then, Matt, who else was there a second part of that question, Matt? Did we miss something?
I don't believe so.
Awesome. Who's next?
So the next question is Martha Pete Tanner. And Martha asks, is there a discount or maybe a reduced price for people who previously received their CDPE designation?
For RealtyTrac? Absolutely. Charlie, why don't we let everybody know the deal that we've put out there? I think it's really, first of all, it's a great deal, but it's a little frustrating for me because Katie and I used to pay about 5 times as much for our RealtyTrac membership. Literally 5 times as much. In fact, I think we paid an initiation fee and 5 times as much. So today, if somebody is a CDP, if they go to realtytrac.com/wave, they call into RealtyTrac and let you know they're a CDP, they pay $20 a month, right?
Yeah, $19.99 a month, or even what a lot of people do is spend $200 and get a whole year's worth of access to our site. So we're looking at the better part of 60% off what a normal person would be paying.
So instead of paying, so it's a 60% discount, and so it's not just $19.99 a month. If you pay $200, you get the full year free. It's another 2 months free.
Exactly.
So, and I'll tell you, at the end of the day, for the agents that are watching, and again, this is an endorsement directly from me, just because Katie and I use this. I know the RealtyTrac logo. It used to be on our marketing materials when we'd go sit down with people. If all you do is print out the foreclosures that are coming in your area, the people that are delinquent in your area, you take them into a normal listing appointment, sit down, put them in front of somebody, and then negotiate for what the price is going to be. That is worth the price of admission with RealtyTrac. Really is a fantastic service. Matt, who else do we have?
Guys, Ebby Okafor has a question out of Leominster, Massachusetts. Ebby asks, is it best to target distressed homeowners who just recently defaulted within the last 30 days, or those homeowners who are about to go into that foreclosure process officially?
You know, Charlie, this is a question we get all the time. The reality is it's so homeowner dependent that really you should be contacting everyone who's in distress, right?
Yeah, the more people you can reach out to, and keep in mind the foreclosure is a process. It takes a long time. In a lot of places, it's going to take many years for that distressed homeowner to move through the system. So reaching out to that homeowner early, often, multiple ways, so maybe a letter, maybe a postcard, knock on the door, go back and send them some more letters, enter them into your drip campaign. Really, the more constant contact somebody can have with that distressed homeowner, the more likely they are going to be able to actually get a meeting and be able to sit down with that homeowner.
And the reality, too, is the earlier they start, the more they imprint with that homeowner, and when they finally make a decision, they may get a call. So don't take an anecdotal situation where you called somebody that was 90 days out, they took your call and you listed and say, oh, 90 days is a magic number. The reality is you want as much chance as you can to engage with that homeowner.
Right, early, often.
Early and often. Yep. Great question. Matt?
Next question comes from Jorge Betancourt. He is with Century 21, and Jorge asks, do you have to be a member to download the brochure that we're going to be posting at realtytrac.com/wave?
Charlie, we're making this available to anybody watching the broadcast, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, and also, if somebody comes in through our organization, if they, for a limited time, we are letting them, even if they're not a member, they can get that discounted rate, right?
Correct.
Awesome. So there's your answer. Give a call to RealtyTrac as quick as you can, get signed up, and also give us a call to become a CDP. Matt, I think we have time for one more question.
Well, the last question is going to come from Gail Wilson. And Gail says, it seems that the HAFA short sales are not very successful, mostly due to the too high listing prices required by HAFA. I'm hearing only about 10% of those transactions are actually successful. Do we have any stats on that?
Any stats specifically on HAFA, Charlie?
Not that I'm aware of. We'll likely have some down the road. I'm not aware we have our hands around anything specifically related to HAFA at this point.
Yeah, and you know, I think that a lot of that statement, a lot of what she's hearing is really anecdotal. And one of the things that I would really caution anybody who's listening against is don't take the anecdotal information in the marketplace and then believe it as fact. What we've heard and what the numbers that I've just heard is that 35,000 half a short sales have closed in just the last few quarters. That's a tremendous amount. This program is actually working.
That's a lot of homes.
It's a lot of homes. And when you look at the numbers nationally, it really is a significant percentage, even though not everybody qualifies, not all loans are eligible. Some of them are Fannie, Freddie, and HUD. So don't take anecdotal information. Take fact, take numbers, dig deeper so that you really understand.
And I think too, keep in mind every market is different. So what's happening in one market may be very different from 10 miles down the road or across state lines.
Even with the same programs, every market's different.
Absolutely.
So Charlie, I want to thank you for being here today. I think there's a ton of information. You'll come back and do it again?
Absolutely, if you'll have me.
Awesome.
Thank you.
To all of you who have joined us on this broadcast, I want to thank you for being here. You know, the one thing that I would continue to implore every agent nationally is to go out and get real data about what's going on. There are so many agents today that still are singing that same old song that short sales simply don't close, and it's not a business worth doing. I can tell you from personal experience, from observation, and from the people we know nationally, that the agents that are doing well today are doing well in all facets of business. They're working with distressed homeowners, they're working with the coming huge number of investors, and they're working with equity sellers. You cannot accept short sales in most markets and still be a top producing agent, and at the end of the day, one of the most important aspects of this business is that a homeowner who doesn't know who to turn to, doesn't have answers, and has an agent engage with them, and rather than just sell a home, take them out of a financial crisis, is a homeowner that will be in your database for life. We want to help you do everything we can to close short sales. If you are a CDPE, we want to thank you for being on this broadcast. If you're not, give us a call at 800-482-0335 right now to take advantage of our special offer and our special package. And if you're interested in RealtyTrac, go to realtytrac.com/wave. I want to thank you all for being on this broadcast with us, and thank you for helping us solve America's foreclosure crisis, one homeowner at a time. To design, coordinate, and launch a full-scale print marketing campaign. With a corresponding website, professionally written blog entry, copy and paste email message, and customizable revise and release press release, even a handwritten note starter. All of this is just the beginning of what you receive as a CDPE Advanced member. That's right, every month, this complete marketing kit and website are updated with a new theme and new copy. We will also show you how to get the most out of your marketing materials and report breaking news to you through our monthly advanced coaching broadcasts. Advanced members are never alone. You also get access to the CDPE Advanced Member Forums. This means being connected to thousands of other advanced members for answers to tough questions. Agents aren't the only people you'll be directly connected to. With priority ranking on Find a CDPE at cdpe.com, homeowners and even lenders will find you faster and easier. We're so convinced the CDPE Advanced program will become a permanent part of your business that there's no commitment and no contract. For $149 to start and $99 a month, you'll get the tools, marketing materials, and support you need to move your business forward. Go to cdpe.com/advanced or call 800-482-0335 and get started today.